Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. This is for Wednesday, June 26, 2024. Got a couple of important things I would like to go over with you folks today. We will have a Discord today after about 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time after Greg's live and after the market is closed. So let's go into what's going on. First, starting with the markets. Got an increase in our risk indicator to 81.9. So risk rising. We've also headed closer into the fear and the fear grade meter. Now, does that have an effect immediately? No. We saw a market pullback yesterday that gave it a bit of strength. Watching the 10-year yield and the relative strength of the dollar, those both gave way towards the end of the day. And so that gave a bit of a recovery. So on the recovery yesterday, we've got stocks still, the markets at all-time highs, but there's no breadth with this. So what do I mean by that? Even though they're hitting all-time highs, we're looking at a dozen stocks that are up and hitting all-time highs. The rest of the market is down, and that's not a healthy market. So with this, just want to go over cryptocurrencies did recover yesterday, back up above 60,000 level with Bitcoin. We'll see if it can hold it. That could have been our last buying opportunity, lower amounts if they start their rate cuts. However, there's possibility with the drop, if we do see the recession as we think, it could go down. 58,000 is the next major support level. And if it breaks through that, then low 50s. Okay, so aside from this, we're also watching the yen became weaker. So as it hit above that 160 level, the risk of the Bank of Japan stepping in for intervention into the currency is increased. This is important, as I talked about yesterday, but in case you're new here, if they do this, they are a large holder of US debt. They could do a couple of things that try to protect their currency, and both of them would basically hit the United States market. So right now, looking stocks, they are in the green, giving it a go. Futures are a bit mixed. We don't have a lot of large data today, but we're looking pre-market tomorrow. I'll go over that in a moment. So stock market news from yesterday was talking about the indices finishing mixed and are looking forward to the data, but really looking at Fridays prior to market open. So let's look at a calendar. We're expecting building permits, and then that's prior to market open, new home sales after crude oil, 5-year auction, and quietly, I think an important one happens after market close, and that's the Fed Bank stress test results. Now, the banks have a lot of things going on. I'm going to speak about them more in a bit. Thursday, prior to market open, is the jobless claims. We've got core goods orders, core PCE is the big one. And then as well, the GDP, all of that coming out prior to market open. Set a trades ready for this to go either direction prior to it close today. So we've got initial jobless claims also coming out tomorrow. So earnings today, we're looking at Micron. And I'm going to tell you about a few individual movers because that's really what the stock market is about now. So we've got bond yields headed lower, although the path may be bumpy, and they're pointing out there is a lot of influence with the debates and the political, not intervention so much as influence. So let's go into some of those individual movers. Nordic Fund, which is large hedge fund and a big money, so to speak, is pulling out of Caterpillar due to Israel sales. So these are the large heavy-duty construction equipment company, and what they're using it for is to clear and level a lot of the homes that basically all of the war damage. So they see this as political risk. Again, that one could take a hit from this Caterpillar. We've also got GM pulling its ILC application. The election may decide what happens next. So we're in an environment where they're looking at these elections to decide what is going on within the companies. They're so heavily influenced by the government, and this is just getting kind of washed under the table. So why is GM looking at this? They got a bailout last time and looking for another one very likely this time. So we've got a little bit of side news with the vehicles. We've got Volkswagen through Rivian, a $5 billion lifeline. So they're saying they're going to a new joint venture. Very good for Rivian stock. Volkswagen took a bit of a hit on that one. But I think they've got some very good ideas coming forward to pull through of what is coming. So below this, I've got FedEx, and that's as a reminder, they had their earnings came out yesterday after the market closed, and their stock jumped. Now, most people would just look at that as a positive thing, but the underlying reason is very concerning because their earnings weren't so great. They had a drop in earnings, but the stock rose because they're cutting their costs. And what does that mean again? Always less jobs. Less jobs, less supplies, doing less. It's not because the business is growing, but rather the opposite. And that made the stock go up. So, very definite problems here. So, this all filters out. You could say, well, what does this have to do with me? If you're not a trader, you're not in the markets. But this is hitting the middle class, and now it's edging up and hitting the upper middle class. So you have this story coming out, Laura Kennedy. My friend has done everything right, but soon they will be homeless. So they're referring to the housing crisis, but that is, again, a symptom of the larger issues that are going on here. We've got a major commodities trader saying that the world could be headed for food wars. So I'm going to argue against this. And the reason I'm going to argue against this is because food wars implies that it is open market, and it's not. This is a takeover of the government of all of the, basically the supplies. And why do I say this? We are going to see price controls come in. I've been saying this for a while. So the food control, it's how they're going to get us to switch to their new proteins, if you will. We've got them controlling basically the utilities. So all of the water, if you're looking out west in the United States, and it's growing. So most of the farms out there now under a branch of the government, USDA, or under the utilities, because they're cutting off the water. Without water, you can't grow your crops. They've got a lot of the heat wave going on out there and are going to have major losses. So watching that in the background. And there is a lot of material on the things I'm saying out there. Please do your own research if you like. If you have questions about this, or even if you have an opposite or different opinion, please leave it in the comments. I love to hear what you have to say. You can have a different opinion than mine. That's how we all learn together. So please leave your comments, especially on this next one. So this, in my opinion, is one of the larger stories. It's being shuffled under the deck and not much attention. So Lilly is major pharmaceutical. They're partnering with OpenAI, artificial intelligence, to develop medicines for drug-resistant bacteria. So this sounds fine and wonderful on the surface, but let's dig into it a little bit. Lilly, most of the patents for a lot of these vaccines, if you don't know already, are owned by Bill Gates. Bill Gates, of course, Microsoft. Microsoft just made a deal to where they basically have OpenAI in their pocket. So this artificial intelligence creating these medicines, poisons, whatever you would like to call them, with the patents owned by Bill Gates and in cooperation with and through Microsoft, who also is now just made deals with purchasing the larger portion of data, uh, personal data, people's data. So all of these things merging, but they can't get hit for a monopoly, even though in effect it is a monopoly because they're separate companies still. These companies, each and of their own, are so large, it would be very difficult to do anything against these. So I want to bring these out to your attention so you can watch these, or also bring these up as anything else develops. Okay, so I want to go to another side of this with the control. We've got the United States sanctioning what they're calling quote unquote sprawling shadow banking network, helping Iran's military. So the United States Department of the Treasury announced they're doing economic sanctions on over 50 people and firms across multiple countries that they're saying is supporting Iran's military. They are using their branch of the Treasury called the Office of Foreign Assets Control. They're saying the entities and individuals are basically involved in the sale of Iranian oil and petrochemicals. So, what's really going on behind this is that they are trying to control these assets, first off, for themselves, because the United States is the largest offender of this shadow banking network with uh, trade in the first place. But what's going on in the background also is if there are any of these banks that are weaker that are doing quote unquote business with any of these, it gives them uh, full permission to investigate them, shut them down, sanction them, and basically put them out of business if they don't sell or merge as they're being told in the background. We've got a lot of banks that have to fall prior to this, and this is corruption at the highest level. So now we've got the Treasury also working behind the scenes, the FDIC, which is the other side of this, Federal Deposit Insurance Group. So they're finding shortcomings in resolution plans of three of the largest asset banks. So these are basically using these as examples. So they're kind of building their muscles. And this is with Citibank here. So they're saying derivatives are their largest exposure and shortcomings. And while I agree with that, derivatives is the largest bubble there is out there. But these three banks are going to survive. They're either going to buy up all of the smaller ones, which are going to be put out by these sanctions, or they're going to get government bailouts because these are too large to fail. Once these larger banks are in, they will be completely government controlled, issuing this CBDC. This is my opinion for this part, but watching these go on because this is control in the works. Okay, with this, I had mentioned yesterday the Grab trailer. I had the link in the description and the movie Inside Job because it explains a lot more what happened with the derivatives last time, the last banking, where they propped it up, put it on life support, and why we still have the problem today. So, with this, I also brought this up. Smiling robot face, it's made from living human skin, and they're, able to make it smile. Do you think that's cute or is it creepy? Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. And I'd like to urge you again, always become self sufficient if you can. And until I see you again, stay free.